So the state of Washington just passed a magazine ban into law. So let's talk about what this bill does and how it will be impacted by litigation that's currently going on. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think that magazine bans are unconstitutional, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. So like I said in the intro, the state of Washington just passed a magazine ban into law, and this ban restricts the future purchase, sale, manufacture, importation of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. So let's talk about what this bill does and how Washington residents will be impacted by this bill, and also how this bill will be impacted by litigation that's currently already going on against the state of California's ban on magazines. The bill in question is SB 5078. The bill defines large capacity magazines in the state of Washington to mean any ammunition feeding device with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition, or any conversion kit, part or combination of parts, from which such a device can be assembled if those parts are in possession of or under the control of the same person, but shall not be construed to include any of the following. And then it has some exclusions that are not considered to be so-called large capacity magazines. So this definition is pretty identical to the language we have seen other states like the state of California use in the past. Now you can find the actual ban aspect of the bill in section 3. It states no person in the state may manufacture, possess, distribute, import, transfer, sell, offer for sale, purchase, or otherwise transfer any large capacity magazine except as authorized in this section. That language there is the general ban in the state that is going into effect. Now, the state of Washington knew an outright ban would be less palatable to those residents, and it would be harder to pass this bill if it was just an outright ban. So then they also included some grandfather language and components in this bill. This is similar to what you also saw the state of California do prior when they first introduced a magazine ban. Now, I want to point something out real quick that is kind of important. The original text of this bill, the first iteration of this bill, included the following language. So this is the prior language. It said in section 2A, it stated, the possession of a large capacity magazine by a person who legally possessed the large capacity magazine before the effective date of this section, or the possession of a large capacity magazine by a person who, on or after the effective date of this section, acquires possession of the large capacity magazine by operation of law upon the death of a former owner who was in legal possession of the large capacity magazine, provided the person in possession of the large capacity magazine can establish such provenance. So in the original text of the bill, they had some express language on the grandfathering aspect. They said that if you are already in lawful possession of a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds, when this new law goes into effect, you could lawfully still possess that magazine. You couldn't transfer it, you couldn't sell it to anybody, but what you could do is you could pass it down to maybe your child or your grandchild once you pass away. However, if you look at the most recent text language of this bill that was passed, you will see that that whole section has been stripped out. They did, however, leave in the intro section that the legislator intended to limit only to the prospective sale of so-called large capacity magazines, while allowing existing legal owners to retain the large capacity magazines they currently own. This is also echoed in the AG's statements that he put out after this bill was passed and is now going to be heading to the governor. He stated that this is only going to be a prospective ban, but important to note, they stripped that language out of this bill. That express language talking about possession, about inheritance, all of those things was stripped out of this bill. That may actually signal to me and to others something that they're going to try to do later down the road. So if you legally possess a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds prior to this ban, you can keep it. So that is that grandfather clause. They also stripped some other language that restricted the transport of magazines and how and when you can actually use them. It appears they are using some other catch-all language in the bill on distributing, manufacturing, and importing to cover some of these other issues that may pop up. My impression from the changes and them leaving things much more vague than the prior iteration is that this is signaling they are eventually going to go after those grandfather magazines. Again, this type of scheme is what California originally did when they passed their first magazine ban. They banned any new acquisition of so-called large capacity magazines, but said if you already possess them, you could keep them. They had a grandfather mechanism in the bill, in the law that they put into place. However, like we know with tyrannical governments, all they want to do is get their foot in the door first. California later amended their laws to also then ban those lawfully possessed grandfather magazines. So they engaged in a retrospective confiscatory ban. Now, this post facto ban on the grandfathered magazines is what led to the Duncan v. Boneta magazine ban case that was recently heard and ruled on by the Ninth Circuit en banc panel. Why is this important for the state of Washington? Well, because Washington is within the Ninth Circuit's jurisdiction, and the ruling in the Duncan case will be precedent for the state of Washington. In the Duncan v. Boneta California magazine ban case, Judge Boneta in the Southern District of California found that the state's retrospective and confiscatory ban was unconstitutional, and therefore he enjoined it. Of course, the state of California didn't like losing, so they appealed up to the Ninth Circuit. Well, a 3-judge panel on review in the Ninth Circuit agreed that the complete ban on magazines was indeed unconstitutional. Again, not liking that they lost, the state of California sought a rehearing by the Ninth Circuit en banc panel. Now, the Ninth Circuit en banc panel on reviewing this case found in favor of the state of California, and they upheld the state's ban and their restrictions on the basis that the ban on magazines in California, in their eyes, and the restriction on magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, in their eyes, was not a complete magazine ban. They said essentially, since residents can still possess some type of magazine for self-defense, this wasn't an outright ban and it did not violate the Constitution. The Duncan case is currently seeking Supreme Court review. Recently, there was a writ of certiorari filed up to Supreme Court. However, there is another case already up for the Supreme Court review as well, and that is sitting on hold, and that is the A&J RPC v. Graywall, New Jersey magazine ban case. Again, very similar to what we see happening in the state of Washington and what Washington is trying to do. Once this bill is signed into law and goes into effect on July 1st of 2022, again, that's your important date. July 1st, 2022 is when this bill says that this ban on magazines, the prospective buying or the new buying of magazines, will be banned. That's when that's going to happen. Once that does happen, no doubt there will be legal challenges that pop up against the state of Washington doing this. However, the legal process can take quite a while, and the case challenging this Washington law could be put on hold in federal courts until the Duncan case is decided, since Duncan is being litigated at a higher level. Again, it's kind of ahead of what's going on in the state of Washington, and it's kind of going to be first in line. So the state of Washington cases, or the cases that pop up in relation to this Washington law, are going to have to wait a bit. Also, any decision in the ANJRPC or the Duncan case would impact this Washington bill, but first that would have to trickle down from those cases to this Washington case. So although it's helpful to Washington that there is already litigation in the jurisdiction kind of going on, I would not find a complete comfort in that. Washington could be maybe a year or 2 years away from getting rid of this ban altogether, and that's if everything goes your way. That is why we always say we need to fight these things tooth and nail to not let them get passed and signed into law, because once they do become law, they are very, very hard to get rid of. Now, in the meantime, if I were you, if I was in the state of Washington, I would likely start to purchase magazines that I feel I need, and also I think I may want one day. Take it from someone in the state of California, a California resident who lives under this type of ban. Once this goes into effect, you will regret not obtaining what you needed beforehand. And I don't want to just tell everybody just go out and purchase stuff, because I don't want a huge rush on magazines and all that stuff. But for you in the state of Washington, you're going to be in a very precarious situation because your state is going to ban these. I understand a lot of you are probably in possession of magazines already. They're going to be grandfathered in, but it's going to be a long time until you can actually get rid of this bill because of that litigation that's currently going on. So that's just a quick rundown of the Washington bill, where it's positioned in relation to cases that are actively challenging other magazine bans. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Al Gore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. Again, thank you to everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach and educate more people than I could have ever thought. So thank you so much for all of your support. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation is built by Armed Scholars. This nation will be maintained by Armed Scholars.